Should you read the textbook? What is the best advice to pass FAR? Getting ready to film. Hello you guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So this is actually my second time filming this video. I actually filmed this back in November and I was going to edit the footage and then I accidentally deleted the video because there was not enough storage on my laptop, and then I had to use an external drive, and then I saved it to the external drive, and then I deleted it because I thought Anyways, it's a long story. So I'm filming this again because I feel like it's a good video to film and I want to get this up for you guys. So this video will be the most frequently asked questions that I've gotten over my years on YouTube.
Crazy to say that I've been doing this for 4 years now.
So in no particular order, let's get on to the questions. So the first question I get asked is, how many hours do you study for each section of the CPA exams? So I took my CPA exams before the CPA evolution changes, so I am only speaking from that standpoint. But before the CPA exam evolution changes, there were 4 required sections of the exams and you had to pass all 4 sections. So there was FAR, Audit, Reg, and BEC. For FAR and Audit, I studied those for 300 hours each. On Reg, I studied for 250 hours, and then on BEC, I studied for about 150 hours. So that is just for me. How much you study will really depend on how good you are at taking exams and how much you already know. But I think that is pretty average for most people, at least the people who took the exams before the CPA evolution. And the reason why I know how much I studied for each section is because my study program actually tracked the hours in the study software. So every time you clicked on a lesson, the timer would start. How much you spent on that lesson would be how long you studied, and there was like a cumulative amount of hours. The next question I get asked is, should you read the textbook? And this again depends on how you study, how your brain takes in information. But for me personally, I did not think that reading the textbook was an effective way for me to learn the information. I think that you either can read the textbook or you can watch the video lectures, but I didn't think that it was necessary to do both because I feel like I was putting in twice the work but not really benefiting from it. So I think my best recommendation is you need to figure out if you learn best by reading the textbook or by watching a video lecture, and then just pick one of those. I learned best by watching the video lecture. I needed someone to kind of explain it to me, and then I would skim through the textbook and it would just make a lot of sense, and then I would do the practice exercises for that specific lesson. And for me, that worked really well. I did that for all of my exams and I was able to pass them. And also the studies program that I used, which was Wiley CPA Excel, they had textbooks that were very, very long and rambling, and they kind of crammed everything that the AICPA could test you on into the textbook. And so there were a lot of information in there that was not going to be tested because it wasn't a highly tested topic, but they just put it in there because there's a chance that it could be tested. So I don't think there was any benefit from reading the textbook. When I was taking my first FAR exam, I had no idea what the CPA exam was. I had never studied for the CPA exam, and I made the mistake of trying to read the textbook and memorize everything in there, and then I realized,
oh, a lot of this stuff is just fluff that isn't even going to be tested.
So then I kind of changed my study method and just watched the video lectures, only study the most highly tested topics, and then I was able to pass FAR on my second try. The next question I get asked is, what are my thoughts on Ninja and should I purchase Ninja? So if you don't know, Ninja is a supplement study software. Most people don't buy it as their main study material. They kind of buy it as a supplement. And I only use Ninja for the audit exam because it took me a while to pass audit. It was definitely a very tricky exam for me. I purchased it after my 3rd time failing audit. So I do think that Ninja helps me, but I don't think that it's necessary for you to buy that if you're able to just pass the exam with your study program. So I think if you fail an exam maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe you should consider supplementing your study material with Ninja. The next question I get asked is, which study program do you recommend? So I only use Wiley CPA Excel, so I can't really speak about the other study programs because I didn't use them. But Mostly all of the study programs will offer a free trial period where you can go into the software and see if you like their material. And if you do, then you can purchase it. And I think that that is the best way to pick a study program. I did not end up doing that because I wanted a study program where I would have a bunch of questions to practice. And at the time, Wiley CPA Excel did offer the most amount of questions. You're only going to be able to pass the exam if you can answer the questions correctly, not based on how much material you actually know. So that was kind of my logic. So the next question I get asked is, how did the audit simulations in the study program compare to the actual audit simulations on the exam? And I have watched a couple of YouTubers talk about this, but I don't think that the audit simulations in my study program prepared me for the audit simulations on my exam, because the audit simulations in my study program was very easy, very straightforward. You didn't have to use too much brain power. And the audit simulations on the actual exam were a lot more detailed and a lot harder. So I think that the best way to really master how to answer the audit simulations on the exam is to just know the material. If you understand auditing and the processes and the different forms and the regulations, then you should be able to answer the audit simulation. But if you do need practice, the AICPA does have practice audit simulations on their website. And those are questions that used to be on the actual CPA exam that are no longer on the CPA exam. And those really did help me because those questions were very similar to what questions I was actually presented on my exam. So I really recommend you check that out. The next question I get asked is, what is the best advice to pass FAR? So I kind of touched on this a little bit before, but FAR was the first exam that I took. And my first time going through FAR, I made the mistake of trying to read the textbook and understand every little single detail about FAR. And that is just not an effective way to use your time to study it and be able to pass FAR. I think my best advice if you're trying to pass FAR is only focus on the highly tested topics. And your study program will tell you what's very highly tested on the FAR exam. Also, the blueprints on the AICPA website will tell you what topics are highly tested. And I would say only focus on those, because everything that my study program said was a highly tested topic that would show up on my exam did show up on my exam. And everything that was not a highly tested topic did not show up on my exam. So FAR is the hardest exam for most people. It has the most amount of material, and they did move some of the harder topics on FAR into the BAR section of the exam. However, the pass rate for FAR didn't really increase. It actually stayed the same. So it is a very difficult exam, but I think if you just focus on what is highly tested and really have those on the back of your hand, really understand those 100%, then I think you have a very good chance of passing the exam. The next question I get asked is, did I use Becker, and is Becker enough to pass the exam? So no, I did not use Becker. Like I said before, I used Wiley CPA Excel, and I know that Becker is the most popular study software. Pretty much everyone on YouTube who makes CPA videos did use Becker. Most of my friends use Becker. And I did not use Becker primarily because at the time when I was studying for the CPA exams, I was not working, and so I didn't have a company paying for my study material. I had to pay for it out of pocket. And so I had to kind of search around and find a study program that didn't break the bank. And I'm pretty sure most of you know that Becker is the most expensive study material. And so I pretty much knew from the start that I was not going to use it. However, if I was working and I was trying to study for the CPA exams, then yes, I probably would have used Becker because my company would have paid for it. So I don't know if it's enough to pass the CPA exams, but what I will say is that everyone that I know who used Becker have passed the CPA exams. So I think it's a really good program, and I think that if I used it, I probably would have been able to pass, but I just didn't end up going with them. The next question I get asked is, how do I fulfill the education requirements for the CPA license? So I think most people focus so much on the CPA exams that they forget that there's actually other components on being a CPA. So those are education, exam, and experience. And in some states, you have to take an ethics exam, which is actually really easy because you just do it at home. So getting the education requirements is required in all of the jurisdictions to become a CPA. And for most people, they graduate with a bachelor's with 120 credits. So you have to figure out how you're going to get that extra 30 credits. And what I did is I actually got a master's degree, and that gave me the extra 30 credits on top of my bachelor's degree, and that's how I was able to get the 150. But I want to make it really clear that you do not have to get a master's degree to become a CPA. You just have to have 150 credits. So some people, they will take classes at a community college and get those extra 30 credits. Some people, they'll stay longer in their undergrad and get the extra 30 credits. So instead of graduating in 4 years, they'll graduate in 4.5 years. Some people will take summer classes in their undergrad and get the 150 credits. My logic was, if I need to get 150 credits anyways, then I might as well just get a master's degree, because this way I could have a bachelor's and a master's and my CPA. Whereas if I got 150 credits in just my bachelor's, while that's very good,
that is just still only a bachelor's.
So getting the master's degree in accounting was the route that I went, but that's not the route that everybody goes, and that's not the route that you have to go either. So then a question I get asked is about international credits and if those fulfill the education requirements for the CPA license. And I know there's an international evaluation that the AICPA has as an option, or maybe it's NASBA, one of the two. That service is just to make sure that you fulfill the education requirements to sit for the exams and to get your CPA license in the specific jurisdiction that you're applying for a CPA license in. I did not use that service because I didn't have any international credits that wouldn't count towards my CPA license. If you've been on my channel for a while, you know that I did study abroad in London when I was in college, and it was the best semester of my life, and I was able to get 15 credits from that semester abroad. And the reason why the classes that I took abroad counted towards the CPA was because the program that I did was affiliated through my university here in the US. So even though I was taking classes in a different country, it was as if I was still enrolled at my university in the US. So it didn't count as foreign credits at all. However, if you do study abroad through a different university in a different country, you do run the risk that those credits might not count towards your CPA license. And so I really recommend that if your university has like a program that is affiliated through that university, I recommend you do that, because the last thing you want is to go abroad, have a fun time, and get a bunch of credits, and then you come back and you realize that those credits don't count towards the CPA license. And finally, the last question I get asked is, what is the best order to take the CPA exams? So I made a video about a year ago. I said in that video that whatever discipline section you choose to take, you should take that exam right after you take the corresponding core section. So if you choose to take ISC, you should take that right after you take audit. If you choose to take BAR, you should take that right after you take FAR. And then if you choose to take TCP, then you should take that right after you take reg. And I also said that you should probably take audit first, because there were rumors it was going to be the hardest section of the exam, because there wasn't much that was moving out of audit, but there was some stuff that was moving into audit. Whereas with FAR, there was going to be some topics from the old FAR exam that was going to be moving into the BAR section. And so there were speculations that FAR was going to be easier than audit. However, looking at the pass rates from 2024, the pass rate for FAR is still the lowest pass rate. And so I would not have said that if I knew that. And I don't think I stand by the position that you should probably take audit first. I do think that you should take FAR first, because it is the foundation of accounting, and it didn't get easier because the pass rate is still the lowest. So if you're choosing to take BAR, then I think that the best order for you is to take FAR and then BAR and then audit and then reg. If you're choosing to take ISC, then I think the best order for you is FAR and then audit and then ISC and then reg. And if you are choosing to take TCP, then I think you should take FAR and then audit and then reg and then TCP. That's just based on what the pass rates were in 2024. and what is recommended by other study softwares, most likely the order that you take the exams is not going to be the order that you actually pass the exams, because most people don't pass the exams on the first try.
I didn't.
But I think if you put in the work and you understand the material, you will eventually pass. Pretty much everyone was able to eventually pass it. If they just kept trying, it just might take you a couple of tries, which is fine. All right, you guys, that is it for this video. Those are some of the most commonly asked questions that I get regarding the CPA exams. I have probably answered these questions before in previous videos and in comments that people have asked me these questions in, but now there is a video where you guys can see what I get asked the most about the CPA exams. But if you enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe, turn on the bell notification, and leave me a comment letting me know where you are in your CPA journey, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!